program. He's the curator of the Larry Bruno Foundation. A lot to be talked about there. Steve, music. I know in the different songs that I've played when we've had different guests on and stuff like that. Yeah, you get into it over there. Big music fan.
Love my music, Mike. You know, when I hear the Allman Brothers, it takes me back to T-Town, 1976, Tuscaloosa.
Oh, yeah.
Coleman Coliseum on the campus of the University of Alabama. I attended the Allman Brothers concert in the Deep South. Okay, I was so excited. And they came out, and Greg Allman had a cast on his hand. He must have fallen off the stage previously at a concert.
Yeah.
And they played one song, and everyone was yelling songs that they wanted to hear, you know, like all these songs.
Right.
And Greg Allman says, I want to tell you people that you don't have to yell out requests. We're going to play everything.
Yeah.
Okay? And they proceeded to jam Mike for 3.5 hours.
Awesome.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then after the concert, you know, I was a football player then. I was a little tired from practice. I went back to my dorm and went to bed, right? Well, my buddy told me that Greg Allman and Dickie Betts went downtown Tuscaloosa after the concert and jammed until 3 in the morning with a band in a club downtown Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
So I was really upset I didn't witness that, but that's a pretty cool memory I have of the Allman Brothers.
Yeah, certainly. I know nowadays John Mellencamp yells at people in the audience if they're yelling out songs to him. He doesn't want any noise, but I can't imagine 1976, that was probably the height of the Allman Brothers' fame back in those days.
Just about, about in the middle of it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. They had pretty much all their hits by that point from the show that they did out in San Francisco and the album. I'm trying to remember what the name of it was now.
Fillmore East?
Fillmore East, yeah.
Rockin' the Fillmore?
Yeah, with Bill Graham and that whole thing. But, being down in Alabama, I saw them at Woodstock in 94 when I was there, but I can't imagine what it was like down in their territory, down in the South.
That's why I was really excited going, because, I went to many concerts in Pittsburgh in high school, in Pittsburgh. And I was a pretty avid concert goer, and I was really excited to see that. And another big one I seen down there 3 months before he passed away, Elvis.
Oh, did you?
I didn't go.
Oh, okay.
He played at the Coliseum. Okay,
yeah.
We came out of the locker room after practice, and the concert's right in that building where our locker room is. So me and a buddy walked down to the gym, the gym where the basketball floor where the concert was going to be, and I could have stayed.
Yeah.
It was about 5:30. The concert was that night, like at 7, and I was going to hang around and just skip supper.
Yeah.
And watch the Elvis concert, but I was hungry. So I went and ate my dinner, and I missed the concert, and wouldn't you know it, 3 months later, he was gone.
Oh, you could have gone backstage. He would have given you a fried peanut butter and banana sandwich or something like that, But Elvis, I can remember being in your house when we were very young, and the first time I heard Black Dog by Led Zeppelin.
Coming from my bedroom.
I was going to say, either you or Chief had that album.
That was me.
Yeah. yeah. So rocking it. And the Elvis thing, he died in 77, right? I'm pretty sure it was around that time. Yeah. Because he played one last time in Pittsburgh at that point at the Civic Arena.
Okay. Yeah, I remember he was throwing scarves to the crowd, and was throwing all these, because people were walking around campus afterwards like, I got the Elvis threw this out, I got this,
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool,
We would have thought Evie would have liked you to bring her home a scarf from Elvis, right?
Yeah.
Was she an Elvis fan?
Probably. Probably.
Good stuff. Steve is the curator of the Larry Bruno Museum, the Larry Bruno Foundation in Beaver Falls, and we talk about that a lot. We talk about high school athletics around this time, people who have gone on to achieve greatness, and even those who haven't made the pros but have made an impact on Beaver County sports over the years. And how many inductees do you have now at the Bruno Foundation?
We have over 60. I don't know exactly the exact number, but we have right around 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, we
that's
have 20 of them have passed away.
Yeah.
So we have over 40 live inductees. But yeah, it's been, this is going to be our 13th banquet coming up in
13.
July.
When did you begin this?
And it started in 2009 whenever we had the picnic for Coach Bruno here in Brady's Run. And it all started, the foundation all started from that event. We raised a lot of money for Coach, and Coach lived one more year beyond that. And when he passed away, he still had over half of the money that we raised. He still had it.
Yeah.
And that's when we decided Coach Flory and Mr. Wodachek. Remember Mr. Wodachek?
Yeah, Hal.
They were, Coach Bruno's probably, two of his closest friends at that time. And they recommended that we use that money to start a foundation and give the money out in Coach Bruno's name. We loved the idea, okay? So we took it one step farther, and they just want us to give the money out in Coach Bruno's name. We took it one step farther and formed a foundation to continue to do that. And it's been 13 years now.
Been highly successful.
13 years.
Yeah, I remember, and for people who didn't know him, I knew Coach Bruno, and in his last year, I was doing some things at different nursing homes over throughout Beaver County, doing little shows and stuff like that, and I was in the one where he was. And
Cambridge Springs?
Cambridge Village, yeah,
Cambridge
up on
Village.
Patterson. And he came up and he talked to me, and, he was... you could see in failing health at that time, but he still had his wits about him, still knew what was going on, and we talked for a few minutes, and then he had to excuse himself to go somewhere. And but it was just, my mother knew him from Monaca when he coached at Monaca, and he was also a driver's ed teacher there. And then when he came to Beaver Falls, and for people who didn't know Coach Bruno, and how would you describe him outside of being a coach?
He made you perform or act at your best. Okay, there was something about Coach Bruno. He was one of those special people that, as a coach, you would do anything for this man. He just had a way of building you up, of instilling this attitude in you, this winning attitude. And was he tough? Yes. Okay. Was he kind of, a little mean sometimes, and he pushed you really hard? Yes. But it was in a way that it was a respectful way. He never disrespected kids, never looked down or was demeaning in any way. He had this ability to inspire his players. And I think any coach that coaches any sport, whether you are an expert in your field or not, if you're able to get the kids to want to play for you, that's 3/4 of the battle right there. And Coach Bruno had this special trait that you would just want to run through a wall for this man. You didn't want to let him down. He was so smart in the field of football. I mean, this guy in the off season during the 60s and 70s, he was talking at college clinics, football clinics on college campuses. We have all Coach Bruno's coaching material at the museum.
Do you?
And I have folders when he went to Wake Forest University, Vanderbilt, out west, Wichita State, a couple schools out west, where he would be invited to speak at clinics about certain offensive techniques. And he was an offensive genius. I mean, this man, when he was first starting out in the 50s, Mike, you got to remember the quarterback position in football, it wasn't always like we see it today, okay? In the 20s, 30s, and 40s, the quarterback position was very different. You would get the ball snapped to you like a shotgun snap. You would pitch it to a halfback, and he would make the pass. Okay, that's how the offenses were set up. So the quarterback wasn't really your passer. He was just kind of like another back that you used, or he would fake the ball to a back and then he would throw it, or it was different. Now, along comes 1950 and a guy from Rochester named Babe Pirelli.
Yeah.
Babe Pirelli was at Kentucky. Kentucky's coach was Bear Bryant, okay? They changed the quarterback position to what we call drop back set, okay? Babe Pirelli started dropping back. Boom, passing, boom, down the field, okay? That changed the quarterback position, okay? Coach Bruno would get together when he was coaching at Monaca as a young man, like in the early 1950s. He started in 48 at Monaca. And during the off season, he made it his business to track down Babe Pirelli. He would get with Babe, and Babe taught him plays, taught him offensive schemes and things. So Coach Bruno had his finger right on the pulse of this quarterback position, okay? And what he did, there was never, ever a better quarterback coach that I've ever seen, okay? Do you think Joe Namath became Joe Namath on his own?
Yeah.
Coach Bruno was a driving force that made Joe Willie. He was an amateur magician,
right?
Coach Bruno.
Yeah.
So any coach that coached against Coach Bruno will tell you the first thing you want to do when you're playing against the Larry Bruno offense, find the ball.
Is that right?
Can't find the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, because the way he taught us how to fake and all this, and he incorporated that into his teachings, and I am so fortunate that I was a quarterback coming up through the ranks, and I learned from the best, okay? And, it's funny. He's been gone all those years now. I have 2 grandsons, okay? And they're pretty darn good. I tell you, at their age, I was a pretty good athlete myself.
Absolutely, yeah.
These 2 grandsons of mine are way beyond where I was at that age, okay? And I find myself teaching them the same things that Coach Bruno taught me, okay? I mean, the fundamentals.
Where are they going to be going to school at? Because we're going to want to watch them
Beaver.
now. Beaver, okay.
Beaver, yeah. Breyer and Bronson Eckelberger.
Okay.
And they're going to be going to Beaver. And watch out, because these are 2 kids that you're going to hear from in the future. But Coach Bruno was such a stickler with footwork, handwork, body positioning. You have to look like a quarterback. You have to act like a quarterback. And all this stuff just distilled in it. Yeah. And Joe Namath will tell you flat out, if it wasn't for Coach Bruno, there would be no Joe Namath. But
and Joe asked Larry Bruno to introduce him at the Hall of Fame.
Well, that was in 83 or 84 when Joe got inducted. By the way, O.J. Simpson was in that class, and so was Roger Staubach. I was there. And, he asked Bear Bryant first would you present me? And Bear Bryant says, I think you ought to ask Coach Bruno. So
is that for those of us who don't know, is that a good Bear Bryant impression?
The best I can do. But he asked Coach Bruno, and Coach Bruno did present. And to this day, that's been how many years, Mike? 83. A lot of years. He's the only high school quarterback ever to be a presenter at the Hall of Fame.
Is that right?
Ever, yeah. So
what a treat that is, and an honor for Coach Bruno. And Beaver County has a long line of good coaches. I'm thinking, you talk about Beaver, I'm thinking Pat Tarquinio. And you go down the line, and there have been a lot of good head coaches. And was this like a fraternity? Did these guys know one another, socialize with one another?
Now, Tark was a little older than Coach Bruno. He was a little older. He was he played quarterback at Juniata, I think how you say it, Juniata. Yeah. And Chuck Knox, the famous NFL coach from Swickley, was the head coach of Elwood City in 1950. Okay. Yeah. Well, he brought Coach Tarquinio was his quarterback coach. That's how Tarquinio started. Okay. Is Elwood City in the 50s. And actually, Carl Flory, I believe Coach Flory graduated in '55 from Elwood. He was a center. He played for Tarquinio and Chuck Knox.
Okay. Yeah.
So you see how that coaching
Yeah.
thing kind of is connected.
Right.
You know, you have a guy like Chuck Knox, and Chuck Knox had a lot to do with Namath getting drafted by the Jets because he was in the NFL by the time Joe had, came up through his age, and by the time he was in college, Chuck Knox was working for the Jets, and he says, "Hey, I grew up with this guy. I coached against Namath when he was in junior high. I coached the basketball team when he came to Elwood, and I noticed this kid, how good of an athlete he was." So you see all the connections, like that everybody's kind of together.
Yeah.
From Chuck Knox to Tarquinio to Carl Flory to Larry Bruno. They all knew each other. They were all connected, and it was just kind of a great thing.
All right. Steve Higgins is our guest curator of the Larry Bruno Foundation, and we'll continue our conversation. We always invite your phone calls at 843-1888 and 774-1888. Speaking of Coach Flory, I just saw him the other night. He was was emceeing a Beaver Valley Community Concert Association. He and his lovely wife, Gloria, were there. So Coach Flory's still getting around, too.
The next closest thing to Coach Bruno is Carl Flory. He was my junior high coach.
Right.
We love Coach Flory.
Yeah,
we love him.
Nice guy.
What a coach. What a man.
We'll continue our conversation here on Beaver County Radio.
Your smile adds to your face value, and your teeth are so important to your life and to your good health. An expert in dentistry with many years of experience is Dr. Peter Mon.